to the Family Forum. I am your host, the Urban Addict. Sitting in today, and in absence is the Dr. Johnny R.C. Tyler, who sat in with us last week. Today I have my guest joined with me, J. Wesley Johnson III. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Thank you for having me on the show. You know, it's been a long week, so I'm just glad to be here. You know, just ready to go into the weekend. So.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Before we get into the show, I would like to say, if you would like to contact us on any situations or any shows, past shows we talked about, you can contact us at the African American Family Association, and you also can call us at 312-738-1060. If you have any questions right now, you can call in and ask your questions. I want to speak to the public about one thing. Last week we had a caller call in and he directed his comment directly towards me and he excluded the other host. And there was a little bit of tension there. But I don't want nobody to be blocked from calling. I don't want nobody to be feeling left out or anything like that. We just want to respect the host that's there. We want to respect each other. We don't want to have any back and forth matches or anything of that sort. Also, I would like to ask Mr. Wesley today is one thing about the Memorial Day weekend. We want our subject to be about safety and the Memorial Day weekend. What could you add to that?
Well, I can add to safety, I think, particularly here, you know, in Chicago mainly. You know, we talk so much about, you know, shootings, violence. But one of the things I don't think we address or pay enough attention to is decision making as it pertains to alcohol, get behind the wheel of a car and being, you know, protected, making smart decisions. So I think safety has to do with our decision making as it pertains to when we leave our house, just being mindful from drinking and driving. And so that's one of the things that I think people talk about gun violence, and then there's also, alcohol violence. And so like there's a lot of fatalities with drinking and driving as well. And so I think going into Memorial Day weekend celebrations tend to get people to make spontaneous decisions. You know, people start to do things spontaneously and erratically, and that's where people get in trouble. You know, so it's Memorial Day weekend, it's a holiday weekend, drinking and driving. Definitely consider Uber as a safety measure. So that's what I like to, kind of focus on.
Okay, well that's actually good. Normally we kind of dive in and we look for solutions for curbing our youth from the streets and the violence and things of that nature. But this weekend is just particularly a sensitive subject because at the end of the week after they do the report, we have more fatalities from drunk driving and things of that nature. We also would like to bring your attention to J. Wesley Johnson also has decided to donate some books, limited amount books. So we want you to call in and get a free copy, and until they're gone, you can have them. But we would like to take our first caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
When you was talking about this Labor Day, about different types of things that may happen in the city, and I just have to pose this question that in certain other places, they don't have this problem. But do you think that one of the reasons why they have this problem in Chicago, like it or not, there's people making money off of other people's misery? And I'll give you a for example. Every time there's a murder, it's at least a negative effect of $5 million on the city of Chicago. And somewhere, somehow, there's people making money off that, like particularly like insurance companies.
Would you like to respond?
People are always looking to make money. I remember a phrase that my grandmother once told me. She said, "It's all about a dollar, baby." You know, people are always looking to make money, and that's true. I don't want to discount that. But when you talk about insurance companies, I've spent 10 years, the last decade, in the insurance industry, and they are for-profit organizations, right?
I rest my case then, and I'll make one other quick comment, and that is this, and I said it last week. And when you look at the youth in Chicago, and especially people that's in the social service business, especially they refer to the youth as urban city throwaways. And they got all these places in Chicago making money off of them. And that's the bottom line. People making money off these inner city throwaways. Take care.
Now,
go ahead.
Now, caller, you said you rest your case, and again, I wanted to support what you were saying that people are looking to make money off of other people's misfortune. That's always been going on, right? But the issue we want to address is mainly what we're doing. right, to keep money in our pockets and not, give them away or, end up being taken advantage of in certain situations. So a lot of that has to do with decision making. Right, again, it's decision making. Say, hey, I'm not going to do anything foolish, or I'm gonna stay away from that group of people. I'm gonna stay away from that side of town because I know here's how it can end up. And so when you kind of play in the factors of what can possibly happen, we want to focus on how can we keep money in our pockets and not give access, or like even the youth, not me in particular, but like, look at some of the inner city kids, right, who might have money just from from hustling and doing different things. But what are we actually doing proactively, right? Because there's always going to be a group of people that are looking to say, hey, how can we capitalize off this group? But what are we doing to counterproductive?
That's just America. You know what I'm saying? That's just America. In the beginning of time, we traded wheat and barley and vegetables and gold and things of that. And what they did today is they still have gold, they still have diamonds, but they have put it on some paper. So it's lighter, and it's easily manageable. You're not toting around a whole bunch of heavy stuff. So that's just one thing. I want to bring your attention to, though, I don't want to get too far off track about what we're doing today. We want people to be safe for this Memorial Day weekend. We know drinking and driving is like a huge thing. It's actually where the numbers of drinking and driving are higher than the fatalities of violence Memorial Day weekend. So they go kind of hand in hand almost, but we want to curb people from it. And J. Wesley Johnson has a book called The Drunk Dial. And I'm going to bring your attention to The Drunk Dial. This book right here talks about the drinking, the driving, and what we can do to stop from causing so many fatalities in that era. Would you like to elaborate a little more?
I would. I'd like to elaborate particularly with the last caller that called in, just about insurance companies, and different groups looking to make money. And so this book is actually designed to, reading this book is save you over $16,000 or more when you factor inflation, court costs, increased insurance, attorney fees, time off work, etc. So it's actually a self-help guide to keep money in your pocket as well as save lives. First and foremost is saving lives from drinking and driving, because just reading through it, you'll learn how to make different decisions. When we say make different decisions, that means today's technology. Hey, we can take Uber, or we can have a designated driver. We can not take that roadie, that red cup that's infamous at the parks Memorial Day weekend. We can leave those back and limit our sales. So there's certain things that we can do proactively, so that we don't put ourselves susceptible for people to take advantage of, or trying to get in our pockets as a stigma presents. So that's why this book is a self-help that actually help proactively save money.
If anybody would like a copy of The Drunk Dial, you can call in. As long as the copies are available, we would definitely give you a free copy at no charge. Is there anything else you want to know about the book, The Drunk Dial, or J. Wesley Johnson III, and like his thoughts on writing the book? You could contact the African American Family Association on that behalf as well, and not call in to the station called the African American Family Association, and we can elaborate about the book more off the air. One thing I want to get clear is that we are solution driven. Yes. So what we're trying to do is, like he said, you'll save like $16,000 by reading the book and learning about what the book has to offer you. Sometimes it don't be about, like who's getting the gain and who's not getting the gain. Sometimes just be about helping each other. Yeah. And a lot of times when we reach out to help each other, sometimes we ask the question like, well, what's somebody doing for me? Right. If you in it for what somebody gonna do for you, then your purpose is wrong. Yes. But when I was first starting out with the African American Family Association, I used to help a lot of organizations like Real Men Read, Real Men Cook, and all type of organizations, just volunteer my services and helping any way I can. And here it is, you have a guy who has written a book, and he is offering you the book right here on the platter to help you save your life. So,
and it is designed to save lives, right? And one of the things that I want to piggyback off of what you're saying, the main thing is being proactive. I think if we can find a way a lot of times to look inward, right, that'll change a lot, because there's this whole theory, particularly on this network. So let's talk about, like, say the black maybe theory, that hey, maybe everybody's against us. You know, maybe they're trying to keep us back. Maybe they're trying to take advantage of us, right? That's the almost the post-traumatic slave syndrome mentality that we have to overcome and get rid of. Like the proactive approaches that say maybe they're looking for me to step up and do something good. Maybe they're looking for me to take initiative in this area. You know, maybe they're looking for me to come in and make a difference. What is it that I can personally do to add value to, you know, to each person? What is it that I can do to save one person's life? And that's kind of like I think the inverse approach that we ought to be able to take. And it starts, it's not about, you know, sitting out to, you know, save the world. What can each of us do individually?
Speaking of like somebody, what we each one of us could do, like what are some of the things you're doing outside of like telling people about the drunk dial? What are like some of the things you're doing with the youth?
Geez, Urban, I've been engaged with the youth for a long time. What's going on right now actually is the USA Basketball Qualifier, which is pretty much a platform for the Olympics, right? I have a program that's designed as a whole philanthropic approach to say, hey, we're going to take kids off the streets on the weekends, put them inside of the gymnasium. We use basketball as a platform, focus on your craft, that time you have, that 90 minutes you have in the gym. It's not just running up and down, but we're going to create a global experience for you. And so the program that we have going on, which is actually a 3-on-3 basketball tournament,
right,
going on next weekend, June 4th and 5th at the Southland Center in Linwood. Kids will come from there, and ultimately the winning team will advance and go to the Olympics. You know, we just had a group of guys that 14 and 15-year-olds a few weeks ago that I brought down to Colorado Springs. They, you know, spent the night at the U.S. Olympic Training Center. They competed. You know, a couple of the parents were flown out.
So you're saying they don't have to come through like an NBA organization?
No.
Or they don't have to be sponsored or nothing like that? You're saying they can walk on and go to the Olympics through the program?
I'll tell you something. If you start to pay close attention to it, USA Basketball is making a whole movement with 3-on-3 basketball. You know, particularly with the summer games coming up in June, right? You know, they have soccer, different sports, but 3-on-3 basketball, there's a whole movement. And so what USA Basketball is doing through this whole youth development initiative is saying, hey, we not only want to make this an Olympic sport, but we want to make this available to everybody. You know, you don't have to have gone to, you know, to Harvard or Yale or come out of Pepperdine or a Division I school. Hey, you know, you just show up at the gym. And a lot of times we just don't take the initiative of just showing up.
Well, that's huge. He say a lot of times we don't take the initiative with showing up. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about everybody that's sitting down and say, well, I know it need to be done, or I know it need to be done, or this and that. We need to just get up and do it. And here's a guy, J. Wesley Johnson, who's doing that. He's actually doing it, and it's not that he's using a platform for his own personal gain. When anytime you can help children do something, that is a plus. Caller, go ahead.
We were talking about earlier about drinking in terms of what the effect it has on society. Now, in other cultures, in some ways, they may teach a child, notice I'm saying, not teach a child how to drink. In some cultures, like when come Christmas and Thanksgiving, they may have a little wine, whatever. But when children wind up going to college or sometimes in high school, they never was taught that, you know, there's a responsibility and there's consequences when you go over a certain limit and you be in certain types of situations. There can be consequences. Why not sometimes teach a child how to drink?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I want to follow that up. Actually, chapter 7 in the book specifically talks about what you just mentioned. It talks about, there's a segment called The Young and the Reckless, right? It talks about peer pressure and then decision making. So a lot of times you find that adults, they know how to drink. Why? Because we have the resources, right? We have different resources than the youth have. If you notice, like an African American community, you know, we don't, you know, oftentimes go out, you know, buying inexpensive, cheap vodka. You see, ordering prime, top shelf things and not mixing liquor. And that's knowing how to drink. But oftentimes you also have to have the resources.
I just want to make sure people understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying get drunk with your child, anything like that, okay? But I'm saying just like before a child learn to ride that bike, they put some training wheels on it. And I'm just saying moderation.
Let me get this correct. Are you saying that you want us not to like specifically offer drinks to our children, but you want us to give our child a drink and teach them how to drink responsibly?
Like I gave an example, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, like with the meal, like with other groups may do. And like I say, when a child winds up being in a situation like, take for instance, like college, or to be out there in high school with a bunch of out there on the corner drinking, they don't know their limit. They don't know the consequence because, for some children, when they take that drink, and they've never been exposed to it, they don't have that tolerance and all that, it may be like them taking a hit of cocaine or something like that, and it's like taking 100 proof of vodka, like 100 bottles of vodka.
Right. Now, and Carl, I want to finish the point I was making because it's I agree with you wholeheartedly. Is that the youth oftentimes they just don't know any better, right? And I reference in the book saying, hey, if you've ever thrown up at the end of the night, chances are somewhere along the line you've probably mixed liquors. You probably mix a dark with a light, or, things of that nature. And the younger children, they just get a hold of something. They're like kids at the candy store. They just want to grab and go, grab and go, without any cognitive process to how you actually want to drink. And that comes as a learned behavior too. That is a point of responsibility. Saying, hey,
I want to make this last comment be done. Anybody know what it feels like being drunk? It is no fun being drunk because your head get to spinning.
Right.
And if you understand certain things about when you go over your limit and you get to throwing up, it is no fun because I can count on one hand how many times I got to that point. Mm-hmm. And like I say, it's no fun.
And
people need to get that
information. What's your name, caller? Joe. All right. Thanks, Joe. Joe, what I want to say is, I actually have a comment and I have a question for Mr. Wesley. But my comment is, coming up, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and then as you spoke around Christmas time, my parents used to put ginger ale in the glasses that looked like a drink. It's not necessarily that everybody will need to give their children or wants to give their children liquor. It's almost saying like, hey, there's no guarantee that your child is going to drink later on in life. So why expose them to something that they're not going to be a part of? Why give them cocaine and they're not going to be a crackhead? Why give them marijuana and they're not going to smoke weed? I think what you're saying is good in a sense of the end result if it happened, but let's deal with before the if it happens. You know what I'm saying? So I had a question like, as we talking about the book The Drunk Dial and the Memorial Day weekend and the drinking and driving, my question is like, what are some of the effects that happen once you're drunk? What are some of the things that take place?
Well, first off, let's talk about like being able to control your liquor, right? What's an appropriate amount to drink? Right, and it's different for everybody. There's a lot of things that play a part. Like height plays a part. Your weight plays a factor.
Your height and your weight plays a factor
because it's your body mass, right? So you have to be able. What 2 drinks for me may do differently than 2 drinks for you may be doing.
Correct.
Right, and it depends. It really is person to person thing. So when you talk about knowing your limits, that's also including knowing your food intake. When you drink. And being able to tolerate it. So, like, the legal limit is 0.08. And so people think that, hey, I had 2 drinks, I'm under the legal limit. Or somebody else might say, hey, I had 4 drinks, I'm under the legal limit. You can't put a number of drinks on the legal limit.
So would you say that, like, blurred vision or poor decision making and some of them things are some of the effects that we have from being drunk or over the limit, over the 0.8?
So over the 0.08,
0.08, yes.
Yeah. So over the legal limit in most states is 0.08. A lot of times, like the effects of that, or like the indicators, as they call them, say, hey, this person might be considered a drunk right now. They might be considered intoxicated. That is going to be, slurry vision, redness of the eyes.
Okay.
Mobilities, just looseness in faculties, just cognitive. So a lot of those things come into place.
Well, that's good to know. Caller, could you go ahead, please?
Yes. Good afternoon. Good evening, guys.
What's your name, caller?
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
Your name?
Steve.
All right, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Listen, I just couldn't, I don't know with me. I would not even imagine myself considering giving a child a drink. I was my whole family, they used to have taverns, and back in the day, you remember the after-hour joints, they used to have that. I remember on my 21st birthday, my mother took me out, me and my girlfriend. I had 1 drink, I left them. They didn't come home till the next day. Alcohol just wasn't my thing. But yet and still, I I just cannot see giving a person, a sibling, a drink till the age of 21, and that's their choice whether they want to have a drink or not. And you hear so many guys, they tell you, well, I don't drink, I just drink beer. They don't understand beer is alcohol also, you know?
Yeah.
But things you normally learn through your peers, you learn through experiences. Some people, a couple of drinks, and they do. You see, some people, they want to drink the whole damn bar up and get drunk. That's them. You have to learn on your own. But again, maybe I'm just old school. I would not give my kid a drink until the age of 21.
Thanks for calling in, Steve. Thank you for calling in.
And you know, I could not agree with you more. I personally could not agree with you more, because it's about train up a child the way you want them to go, and it becomes so we have to feed them all things, whether it's a verbal message, whether it's a food, a meal, a fried chicken, a drink of alcohol, a beer. What you put into the body is eventually going to come out, and so you do have parents giving their children beer. I've been over a friend's house, and they had just infants, almost infants drinking. And I'm like, how on earth would you do that? To me, that's there is a such thing as being an irresponsible parent. And the parents do have to take responsibility for their decision making as it pertains to the influence on their children. And go ahead.
So let's not get too far from that. The reason this is good is because this is why we have dialogue. This is why we have a call-in show, because we have people that think one way, and then we have people that think the other way. But we're here to tell you that we don't know what the right way is, but we definitely can tell you what's not right.
Right.
But I don't agree with giving somebody something that can be addictive, that can be harmful, or anything of that nature. Caller, we don't have that much time, but go ahead.
You just got to saying you wouldn't give a child nothing that'd be addictive, something be harmful. But you know what? There's people out there that have no problem giving a 12-year-old a condom that can really change their life, in terms of lifestyle and all that. It can be very harmful if that condom bust and all that. But I'm talking about, just like some parents talking about they don't spank, some others don't spank. But sometimes you got to do what's in the best interest of that child and where they live and all that. You got to do what, like I said, if you want to give a child a condom, but you want to teach them about the do's and don'ts about drinking and the consequences, I got a problem with that. Take care.
All right, this is what I want to say to that. What he said was, in a share was, we are relegated to a certain sphere. So being that we are raised in this area or this environment, if drinking is something that is being an abundance in an area, then in so many words he wants to teach them how to drink, because evidently he feels that it's inevitable to avoid the situation. But I'm here to say that I don't know how your grandparents raised your parents and your parents raised you, but I read the Bible, and it is a great source to me of guidance. And if you are confused in any type of way of anything you would like to have knowledge about, just read the good book.
Yeah.
And it'll help you out.
Okay.
We are about to close here, but would you have to have any final words?
I would like to have some final words. That last caller sparked a couple of chords. The main thing is about decision making overall, right? Whether it's a condom, say, hey, have protected sex. Whether it's a drink, say, hey, know your limits. Whether it's, hey, take this gun in case somebody tries to rob you. The main thing is being cognizant of our choices. And we're in a day and age where it just seems like our culture is really almost up against the wall by the moment we walk outside of our door. And the reality is that we have to be better watchmen as adults. We have to be better watchmen. Our gatekeepers are no longer at the city gates, like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson Jr. They can't show up at every occasion, every outbreak that there's crime or something happening. No, we have to do a better job as individuals. And at the end of the day, truthfully, I think the whole entire refresh button needs to be hit on the entire Civil Rights Act of 1964, just so we have a better sense of how to carry out our lives.
Thank you for coming in, Mr. J. Wesley Johnson III.
Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to call in for the Drunk Dial. We have free copies for you. As I've said before, we are a black people. We are a power to be reckoned with. We are here by design, but we can change the blueprint. With the information you got, go out and do something with it.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in.